And we should be live. Hi everyone, hope
Alright.
you're all doing okay. And say hello to Dafydd here from terrain-tronics. How are you doing, Dafydd?
Very well, thank you, Karl. Thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. So let's say hello to anyone here. At the moment it's just you in the chat, I think, and Charlene.
That's fine, yeah.
Hi, Charlene. So, Dafydd, you've been quite the advocate for electronics in gaming terrain, yeah?
That's my thing. That's my jam, right? That's
Yeah,
I've been doing it about a year and a bit now, and so yeah, I've been working closely with a lot of the people that you know, a lot of folks, you know, a lot of people that in the community. Working with John at Tabletop Witchcraft, working with Zane and the Crazy Crafter and all those guys. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. A lot of learning, especially, you know, I don't have really much of a background at all in Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, and so it's a real fun opportunity asking people, you know, how do you do this? Why do you do that? How do you do it?
So I think you mentioned that you were going to have your first game today, yeah?
Yep. Later on today, I'm having my first game at a store that only does, you know, DM campaigns. Right, you sign up and you pay away and turn up, and there's a bunch of house DMs ready to roll. So
that sounds awesome.
you know, I created my own character on Hero Forge yesterday and 3D printed it, and we'll see if he's even accepted by the DM.
So Cross from Campaign Terrain and Tina Martins showed up. Hi everyone. So what are you playing? What character are you playing?
I have hold on, I've got him right here. He's not really painted yet. He's just got some black and some hold on, let me cover my eyes here so you can see him. He is a dwarf with a spanner in one hand, like a monkey wrench, and an axe in the other, right? So he's good at fixing things, which is what I'd like to be one day. Not a dwarf, just good at fixing things.
All right. That sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be fun. Good luck, man.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I don't embarrass myself. That's the main thing.
Of course not.
But also, I'm also considering. You know, everyone keeps telling me I've got to start finding my local friendly local gaming store to try and, you know, see if anybody else wants to buy you know, the terrain-tronics stuff I do. And so that's the other kind of secret reason. Not secret. It's not secret anymore. Reason I'm doing this as well. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, those controllers you're selling are pretty useful.
You know, what I've discovered is it's all about how creative the DM who's, you know, using it is, right? You know, if all you want is flashing lights, it's a bit hard to compete with a battery. Sorry, if you just want a light on or a light off, it's a bit hard to compete with a battery. But as soon as you want to do more, as soon as you want to do any kind of interactivity, it you know, becomes way more fun, if you will, to be able to use some of the stuff I make. That's the idea anyway. That's what I'm sticking to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we had that discussion last time about using these electronics for immersion.
Yeah. You know, you know, I like to think that. So I spent a few years in my professional life working with haptics, with vibration. You know, when you use your phone and you feel the phone vibrate when you touch the keypad, and so on. And it was amazing. What I learned very quickly, I started working with some of the guys doing virtual reality and so on. And what I realized was you don't necessarily have to have the most perfect vibration that feels like a bow and arrow, right? If you're pulling a bow and arrow in a virtual reality game, if you see it and you hear it and you feel something, or your brain is very quick to glue it together and say, oh yeah, that was a bow and arrow. You definitely pulled out a piece of string, and you definitely let go and felt that thwang. And so, you know, when I think about, you know, the whole D&D gameplay, I love the idea of lights, sound, vibration if you need it, smoke, and everything just contributing a little bit to the theater of the mind that's going on. Right? It shouldn't, you know, if you have to use a tablet and you're a player, you know, the DM maybe, you know, they've got a lot of stuff going on, but as a player, you want to avoid the screens and the distractions and the things like this. And so the more we can pull you into that world, I just think that's really cool. I can't think of a better way of saying it.
No, it is absolutely. And like you said, I mean, screens and stuff like that can be a bit of a problem because as a dungeon master, the role is mainly a storyteller kind of thing. And as soon as you lose that connection between, even if you are doing a presentation or a talk or something, as soon as you lose that connection, like you make players look somewhere else or you make your listeners look somewhere else, it just disrupts the flow. It takes them out of the story.
Yes, exactly. And so some DMs have told me about their experience with players on their phone, while somebody else is throwing dice and things like that, right? And I just think to myself, what a lost opportunity to hold them in, right? And the more you can see the terrain, the more you can watch it change, or you're watching for clues, looking for clues on terrain as well. I think that's pretty exciting. I think one of the biggest missed opportunities from what I've seen. So I watch a lot of what's the guy's name? Professor Dungeon Master.
Oh yeah, Dungeon Craft.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, and he was saying, you don't need to build terrain for everything, right? You only need it for combat.
Yeah,
that's what he says. You only need it for combat. And I thought to myself, what a missed opportunity. Right, what a missed opportunity in terms of, creating a puzzle-like environment where people have to really use their brain to solve, a visual puzzle, if you will.
I think that kind of fits in just build terrain when you need it. Because again, if your terrain is part of a visual puzzle, then you have to build that. Hi, Zane.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of campaigns, if you just take the campaigns which are in the books, for instance, not many of them actually do much with puzzle solving and so on. I think it tends to be more, hey, you're going to go through a forest and, 2 goblins jump out. Okay, a couple of trees on the table, throw some dice and hope for the best. Again, I can't help thinking that there could be so much more to it. I ran my first, I wouldn't even call it a campaign, right? I called up a couple of friends of mine back in the UK and I said, hey, I've built some terrain. I've got a virtual tabletop, do you want to join? And one of the puzzles I made a room with a rolling door, controlled with a remote control, because we can do fun things like that with terrain-tronics products, plug. I said, there were 3 players and I said, hey, was it? I think the clue was something like 4 faces must face each other or something like that around this table. And there were 3 of them. And they were like, they really started thinking, like, is anybody wearing a watch? Said somebody. And I thought that was great because, a watch has a face on it. They were immediately thinking of what was in the room, right? And we went one step further and said, okay, they went one step ahead. What about the other rooms we've been in during this dungeon? And in one of the other rooms, I had a knight in shining armor, a statue, kind of holding a sword like this, right? Clearly with a face. And under that mini, I had a magnet, right? So they essentially ran back to the other room, picked up this statue between them, carried it back in virtually, right? And then, back on the table when I had the camera shining on it, they put that model in place. So I put it in place for them. So you finally had 4 people around this table, all facing each other. They all had magnets underneath. And with some of the read switches, the magnet detection switches I have, I'm able to say, okay, all 4 places are there, and the door automatically rolls open. And that was a real kind of whoa, that wow from your players. It's worth it. It's worth it. All the time crafting, or all the time working out how to make this stuff work. And I didn't need any software for that. I didn't need to write anything. All I did was hook one switch into the other, which means every switch has to close for the electricity to pass to the door.
Just a basic circuit.
Very basic circuitry. And I do my best. I try and explain that on my channel, but obviously I could always do better. So I love feedback as well.
Also thinking earlier about rather than making pieces of terrain, Yeah. What about something you could hand out to them? Like, for example, I don't know, a cryptex, and as you turn the dials, I don't know, some stuff, runes light up or something like that.
Yeah, we definitely. You and I have discussed that a little bit. I've discussed it with a couple of other creators as well, and we did have. I had some early prototypes. I do a lot of prototyping, with a 3D printer and so on, just ideas and so on. One of the concepts we had was four circles, right, with magnetic sensors on the back. So when you turned each circle to the right point, it's the same thing as solving, the four guys looking at each other, right? But those discs could then be changed, right? So in one of them, it could be, what year was the Battle of Waterloo or something like that. That could be the clue, right? And somebody jumps in, right, and says, "Oh, yeah, I remember this," right? And you turn the wheels, which have numbers on them, to the right place. Tick tock, tick tock, and then the entire piece of that cryptex, or that stone tablet, if you want to call it that, then behaves like a remote control, and it sends the right command to the terrain that says, "Open the damn door," or "Turn the light green," "Turn the light red," and so on.
I think you mentioned last time that you do have Wi-Fi components, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So you stepped into that beautifully. Hold on, let me see if I can switch the camera here. Come on, you switch to this one. There we go. So this, I'm not sure if you guys can see it in my stream yet.
They should know.
But this is, let's get the camera, is a delay. Is this bottom board here is an off-the-shelf, a little Wi-Fi chip.
All right.
And it's programmable using software we call Arduino. Not terribly complex, especially if all you want to do is switch something on or switch something off. And what I have on top of it is what we call a Carnarvon board. That's a circuit board I make, which lets you connect to motors and to light strips and things like that. And so with a little bit of software, and I provide all the software available online. You can copy, paste it, and so on. You can modify it to do what you want. So I have a generic script, for instance, for my remote control that says, if there's 3 doors connected, open or close each of the doors, or change the color of the lights, right? So, for instance, right now these lights are, let me see if it updates with you. I'm using an old camera phone here, so it's
down a little. Right?
There we go. All right. So for instance, it's yellow right now. I can switch it off with the remote control. There we go, off, or I can change it to flickering fire, or maybe lava if I want. Change it red and so on, right? So there's a couple of defaults ready to go in there. And it's all set up, so you don't have to do a lot, right? And if you order the boards, you can get that already on there. So if all you want to do is like open or close a motor, or switch lights a certain way and so on.
Nice. And again, like you said, it acts as a remote control, so you don't need to have one massive piece of terrain with stuff on it. You can just have independent pieces.
Yes, exactly. And the way I've written the code is, your first piece of terrain that you build, you just take my code example, or you don't even have to take my code example. It'll already be burned onto the board for you. And then when you build your next one, you say, hey, you know what, I don't want to use this remote control anymore because that one's controlling my blah 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 terrain, right? But I've got this old TV remote control. Or even better, everyone's got an old satellite TV remote control sitting around somewhere, right? You've always sent the box back. But you've always got that, right? So you can teach the terrain whatever remote control you have.
Seriously? I mean, any remote control you can just adapt to that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. So, for example, I'll show you guys now. Let me see if I can show you this.
Hello, Earthman.
Yeah. You say hello to everybody while I just pull this up, okay? Let's have a look here.
Okay.
Let me make sure that's working. Yeah. All right. So let me change screen if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Earthman Brick says he approves the use of cable ties.
So so what you see here in the middle of the code here, and I'm not sure if it's very clear. I don't know how to make it bigger. Actually, is there a right click here? No.
I think it's
but essentially,
command
this
and
gives
mostly
feedback to your PC every time you push it, and it says, "Hey, I recognize that code." So when I'm pushing the 0 button on my remote control, you'll see here it says IR receive FF6897. Now I have no idea what FF6897 is. You know the best bit? I don't care. Right? All I say is in my code, my actual code, I say, okay, if you get FF687, do the all LEDs off thing, right? So now I can go get a, actually, here's one. Here's a different remote control for something else, right? This is for a different set of lights. You can see it's got like the RGB lights.
I think you need to switch your screen again because
I'm sorry. Okay, so here's a, a little remote control for a what do you call these? These are the RGB LEDs or whatever that I bought on Amazon. I also have a terrible Amazon problem. I'm sure everybody else on this channel does as well. So I'm going to push the blue button and see what my receiver thinks. Ready? So here comes blue.
Okay, we're seeing the screen again.
There we go. So it says blue is FF7887. So that's different from the code we had earlier. And so what I can do now is modify the code that I share. You can go to on the web and find it. And you simply say, where is it here? I think it's this one. And there's documentation on how to do this. This looks like a lot of code. Really, it's not. Most of it's copy and pasted over and over again. But here you can see, look, if the result is FFO2FD, if I change that to the code that I got when I pressed blue on this remote control, it now listens to a different remote control.
So all you need to do literally is figure out which signal the button sends.
Figure out what the code is coming from your remote control, and you change one line of code in what I give you. And actually, it's probably a great video I need to do on the channel on how to update this code with your own remote control. That's actually a really great one.
It sounds like
I should do that. I should do that.
Thinking about it, television remote control has a whole lot of more.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's way more buttons on a TV remote control than this one, right? The best one I saw. Do you remember there was a not CD, but after CD there came a format called mini disc.
I don't.
Did you ever hear of mini disc? And they were these micro kind of CDs, but they were inside a plastic case. The remote controls for them were amazing. They had like a full alphabet on them, plus all the numbers, plus all the plays, plus all everything else. I mean,
that sounds like
being
a keyboard.
The Uber DM.
Yeah, that's
it's basically like a keyboard and a remote control like that. So, but yeah, so that's some of the kind of the latest stuff I've been doing is trying to design everything around that Carnarvon Castle board, because it's got the 3 motors out, it's got the hookup for your RGB LED strips, and it's amazing what you can do once you've got those two things. That's sound and vision taken care of. Let me think here. Let me think what would be fun to look at. Okay. Hold on. So there are some of you that may watch what I do on Instagram. When I'm not actually building product or doing a day job and I'm messing around and prototyping, I dabble and I post everything on Instagram because it's like instant gratification. That's what it should really be called. So this was a little trap that I was working on.
Okay.
Zane from Zane Morgan Crafts. Let me see if you can see this. All right, Zane from Zane Morgan Crafts. I think his husband said to him that I must have had a really damaged childhood to show this. But, for instance, let me see if this works. Here we go. This is a spike trap where spikes come through the front door. Let me see if this. Come on. Oh, okay. Of course, this is like taking your kids to the doctor, right? It doesn't work as soon as you're in front of the doctor, right? But no, I had a bunch of nails attached internally. I'm not sure if you can see this very well.
Is it the same mechanism that you had used on John's video?
Yes, exactly. But I'm not sure if you can see in there. There's a not a worm gear. What do they call it? Oh Lord. I'm an electrical guy, not a mechanical guy. But there's a motor that it changes from circular motion to straight motion.
I think it's a
so it actually
screw or a worm screw. I forgot the.
Yeah, I think it's a worm screw. My words are failing me right now. Oh, that's really going to annoy me later. I guarantee you, once I'm done on this stream, it's going to work. I'll be posting it onto Instagram saying, "See, I told you so."
That's another question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
How much mechanical power can you generate?
Not much. I mean, it depends, right? It depends on the servo motor. And so a servo motor looks something like this, right? This is the kind of servo motor that's used in a remote control aeroplane. Okay. And the reason for that is that they're relatively small. You see, this one's about the size of my thumb. The top joint of my thumb. You can get them even smaller, but the price tends to go, much higher. The kinds of stuff I use them for. Let me give you an example. I'll just grab this now. So here's a little fireplace that I put together. And when it's hooked up and when it's cooperating, the coal in the fireplace will roll away, letting the players sneak through the tunnel, for instance, right? And so you can see here there's a motor and an arm that basically sort of rotates away and pulls the motor with it. In fact, maybe I can show you that. Maybe that will cooperate. Not that I hold a grudge against my own hardware. Bear with me. Pop that in there, and then we'll put this in the back like this. If this works, I'm gonna be so impressed. I mean, I don't know. Of course, I won't be impressed, but you know what I mean. Is it that one? Come on, you bugger. There we go. And you see it kind of roll away like that.
Nice.
And so from a player's perspective, you solve the puzzle, right? You put the lumps of coal down next to the fire or something like that, and the doorway rolls away. And so it's I'm all about that. I'm all about that kind of challenge right now. That seems to be my my calling right now. When I was a kid, I'm not sure how many of you viewers are from the UK. There was a TV show that was based on Dungeons and Dragons, or at least that was the apparent inspiration. It was called Nightmare.
Say again, sorry, Nightmare.
Nightmare it was called.
Yeah, I think I might have watched an episode or two, but we didn't really get that here.
Yourself? Yeah, it looks something like this. I even found a bit of it on YouTube here. But the idea was, right, that you had a player walking around blindfolded, and they had all this CGI running on top, right? And then you had three players. They're all teenagers or preteens. Back in the studio, basically saying, take 3 steps forward, 1 step left, pick up this item, put down that item, give it to this person or whatever, right? Real puzzle solving, because there was no way they could do combat in this show, right? It was, it was the 80s, right? Or maybe they should have done combat in the 80s, but the idea is that there was a lot of puzzle solving, and that for me was that for me was always the inspiration, right? How can I make what I'm working on more like that TV show? How can I make it like an escape room? Right, so you have to have all the clues and put them together.
I think that's quite a lot of fun, because puzzle design is really an art on its own. I think you mentioned the Monkey Island design document last time.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. It's such a great. Wow, yeah. I just clicked onto the chat. I see a ton of stuff. I'm sorry, I missed a lot of that, but. Yeah, so the design documents done for the old point and click puzzles are amazing, right? And anybody who really wants to get into creating their own campaign, which is puzzle based as well as combat based, it's really worth going into that how do I say it, different media, and looking at how these puzzle designs were created. Kind of, you need this with this, you put them together, and then you can do that. And part of that can be theater of the mind, and the other part of it can be something physical you see on the table and so on. The old put a pulley inside a rubber chicken so you can use it to slide down a wire or whatever, right? It's a bit extreme, but I always thought it was pretty exciting to be able to do that.
The thing is that I think even most published material for any role-playing game, not just Dungeons and Dragons, if you have a puzzle, it's either find 3 random pieces of the same thing and put them together, which isn't really, it's kind of fetch and carry. It's not really a puzzle, or riddles. which are again lots of fun, but again, not quite a puzzle.
I think it's funny you called it fetch and carry. I've never heard that expression, but I know. But even that much, I'm beginning to think, in many D&D campaigns and so on, even that much seems to be, not done very much. Not done very much, right? And the fetch and carry needs to be something in recent memory as well, or something nearby.
Oh, yeah,
you can't sort of say, oh, you missed that thing back at the tavern. You were there three weekends ago. Oh, you didn't bring it with you. It can't be. That's just cruel, right? Yeah. But
actually, I think that also ties into computer adventure games as well. Monkey Island did a great job of avoiding that.
Yeah, death. Yeah, avoiding death in games. Yeah,
well,
yeah. That was very deliberate.
Even the thing about I don't know if you remember King's Quest or Space Quest from Sierra.
Yes. Oh, they were awful. They were awful. They would kill you off in a heartbeat. Yeah. You basically ended up pressing Control S every 2 minutes, just in case you stepped off a cliff or something. In fact, the Monkey Island games made fun of it. There was one point in the first game where if you step off a cliff by mistake, it pops up with a King's Quest style thing. Oh no, it looks like you died. And then all of a sudden, apparently you land on a rubber tree and you bounce back up and land on the ground. It's very well done.
But it wasn't just that, because in some games, for example, you could miss something at the beginning of the game. Like you forget to pick up an item. And then you only find out it's a problem at the very end of the game, where you have no way of getting back to it, and that's it. That playthrough is stuck. You have to start over again.
Right. I mean, a point of a game, whether it's an electronic point-and-click game or whether it's even Dungeons and Dragons, is to entertain, right? Oh. And to provide a little bit of, I feel smart when I solve a puzzle, right? I shouldn't be punished when I can't, but I do need to be kind of, I get that rush of reward when I do. I was just going to show you this other puzzle I put together real quick, because it gives an example of this. It stops you, but it doesn't ruin it for you, type thing. So this is a lava room that I created. And what you see here is, there's some LEDs there and so on, right? And let me, so your players walk into the room, of course, right? Let me see if I've got a player here with a magnet underneath him. No. Okay, well, I have a base here with a magnet underneath. Hopefully you guys can see that, right? And as a DM, you would say, hey, you've just entered this room. You cannot cross the lava. There's a flow of lava. You cannot cross it, but the door on the other side is completely open. All right. And so, there's a very clear kind of golden pressure. Look, the clue is it's a pressure point, right? So one of your players walks up, steps on it, and forgive me, I'm not on a proper table here, but oh my goodness, the lava stops flowing, right? Which means his friends can run across, but as soon as he or she does, it starts flowing again. So what's the clue, right? You need something heavy enough to hold down this pressure plate. Well, over here in the corner is a jug of some kind, but it's empty. And hopefully one of the guys is still here while the other guys pick it up. They bring it across. All right, let's put this on here. Nothing happens. Elsewhere in the dungeon is a water fountain. So again, it's a bit of a fetch and carry, but here's a jug with water in it and a magnet. We didn't say that bit though, but obviously you put the jug on there, everything stops, and now the whole party can go through. That's the key, right? So, when you're thinking of puzzles, you're thinking of limiting motion, limiting movement, and sort of, I think it's a great tease to allow just 2/3 of the party to go through, but they have to leave a guy behind.
Yeah,
right. It's kind of cruel, but you get the idea. You get the idea. So everything all these puzzles are all driven off, USB power packs, or they can run from a little coin cell battery. I do prefer USB power packs because they just provide a little bit more juice. And they're getting cheaper now. I've got a dollar store near me. I can get them for $5 each.
Nice.
And that's more than enough to, and with a power pack, it'll run for like 3 or 4 hours easily. That's even if you're being lazy with your power. So I saw that Zane said I need to come up with a terrain that runs on tea leaves. Okay, my terrain runs. Well, it's not runs. They walk over tea leaves. How about that? I love Cross's comment here. Almost every player I've had would pee in the jug. Well, if that happens,
I didn't know we had the same players.
You've just got to pick up the other jug at that point, haven't you? Really, and just say you peed blue. Off you go. So.
Thinking about my past players, probably what would happen is either create water.
Right.
I don't know, stuff all the dead bodies they've created in the dungeon into the jug and just get on with it. At least you're recycling. Yeah, definitely.
If you knew how much tea I go through, I definitely need to do that. When I was a kid, my friend's dad used to be a big fisherman, and he'd take all the tea bags from their house, and he had like a patch of the garden that was like incredibly tea rich. He'd take all the the used grounds or leaves, put them in there, and the worms used to love it. Maybe I need to do that.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
while we talk about that, let me just drop a link to the Discord in the chat. If anyone has any work in progress or finished pieces they would like to show, they can just throw it into the 2022 0410 what do you call it on Discord? That channel? I keep forgetting. Anyway, it's in there. You can throw it in there. We can have a look at them later. Anyway, back to the electronics and techno wizardry stuff. The reason I was asking about how much power the servos can generate is, what if you wanted to have something like a steampunk style tower where you have wheels going on all around there, and then maybe have a little drive shaft where you can use the continual motion to switch on a door, for example.
Yeah. So, for instance, I've done a prototype for a drawbridge previously, right, for a castle, for instance, and I've had no problem lifting, lifting, if it was brass. Or wood, or even like a little bit of light metal, for instance. That's not something beyond the capability here. The thing with motors is, right, it's all about speed, and it's all for instance, if you expect it to go fast and strong. I'll give you an example. That's the drawbridge mechanism I had. Then it's very, very difficult. But if you're willing to take your time, then you can use gears to speed it up and slow it down. So for instance, here you can see there's one big gear here, one small gear here connected to something that pulls on the string. And what this is doing is actually converting the 180-degree turn that this motor can give. It only turns 180. It's not a continuous spinning motor, but turning that into multiple turns here for the rope from the drawbridge to pull it around and so on. And so with gears and a little bit of time, it's pretty amazing what you can do. And so, in D&D and wargaming generally, I don't see us being in a rush to kind of, the fastest rush I could think of is the spike trap. And even that, if it moves kind of slowly, if it takes 3 seconds to tick it into place, theater of the mind will do the rest of the hard work for you.
Now, what I was thinking actually is something more like, let's say that you've got a dumb motor which is just running all the time, yeah? So it's rotating all these wheels and gears and stuff which do nothing. They're just turning in there. Then with your remote control, what you could do is move a transmission or something, which would power something else.
Yeah, so
and I think that would
you could definitely do that.
That would negate
the challenge with motors that
motor.
continuously turn, though. There's a challenge with motors that continuously turn, is you never know when to stop.
But
right.
That's the thing.
So let's say you have
to stop. You just want it to keep going.
Okay. So if you just want something to continuously turn, for instance, John at Tabletop Witchcraft did a design recently with a tornado. I think it was like a spell or something like that, right? And Zane did that awesome water wheel very recently. And that was fantastic. That was a work of art. But I mean, that's continuously going. We don't really care about, you know, a limit stop on that. And so, yeah, definitely. For that, you just need some kind of way of controlling a higher power motor. So I have a board that can do that. It's just not released yet.
Oh, nice. Because what I was thinking was thinking something about the Dwarven Ruins in Skyrim, where you've got all this kind of steampunk stuff going on around, which is just moving regardless, even if you're not interacting with it. It's just pumps are moving, wheels are turning, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So for that, I would just be using a just a battery with a breakout board, you know, just to get to the power of it. So for instance, for USB micro, you can actually get like these little breakout boards, which takes the connector and makes it into pins that you can just wire wrap onto. If anybody doesn't know what wire wrapping is by now and has followed my channel before, shame on you. Wire wrapping is God's tool for prototyping and getting stuff done quickly. Most expensive, most useful tool I have. Yeah, you know, it essentially, you know, brings USB to connectors a little bit like a Conway board, but you know, without all the extra power regulation and so on. And so, you know, if you're trying to do lots of LEDs, you know, in the room, for instance, here's one I cooked earlier. Hold on. It's like show and tell. This is great. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. So here's one I cooked earlier. So on the back, all I have is a USB power bank, and it's not glued because it's, you know, it's just a show off piece right now, but and two terrain-tronics Conway Castle boards. But yeah, this is me messing around with making light fixtures for LEDs and so on. And so you can see here.
You had them on Instagram or your Facebook page. Those cage lights.
Right. Yeah. So these ones, I did design a bunch of cage lights, which are the ones you see kind of. I think of them in prisons and stuff, to be honest with you. But these ones are designed slightly differently. They're downlight only, so they're a cover over the entire LED except for pointing down. And so the idea is, you know, when things are a little bit dimmer here, you can, you know, you get some downlighting. You see this white one, for instance, you know, provides a beautiful sort of downlighting effect over this concrete wall. The yellow is really nice as well. The green, I'm frankly disappointed with the green. It takes a lot of power to get green to shine in any way. It's just not a very great, or at least the ones I have. Maybe I need to buy better green LEDs. And I did the same then. I'm sure you've seen this one, right? This is my cottage I put together for my first trade show that I'm doing, not trade show, con that I'm doing. And this is a single Conway Castle board with 4 flickering LEDs. And then, you know, the light fixtures themselves are the Dungeons and Dragons lighting kit that I have.
Oh, right.
So yeah, you know, when I was on the live stream with Zane and the Crazy Crafter and that one videos, you know, I was telling them, you know, I'm okay at electronics, but I'm terrible when it comes to paint and glue. I'm just not patient enough and so on.
I think so. I mean, like that.
That came out really well.
Nice.
I'm quite pleased with that. And so that one was more or less, you know, inspired, copied from, if you want to call it copied from, Devs and Dice.
All right.
But the main difference was let me see if I can show you guys here. You go full screen with this. The difference is he just does it kind of, you know, from the hip, whereas I'm a little bit more, you know, design the basics of it in 3D, split it out into different parts, and so we can, you know, break it out. And then I had a sheets of foam board that I simply laser cut then and glue it together, and that was
fancy.
It's fancy. It's just a more accurate knife and
pretty much.
ruler, really. It's just, I'm not patient enough to sit there and work together with it and so on. I'm just like, I just want to get it done. And so, that worked pretty quickly. And then, I needed shingles for it then. So I made a jig, and, cut that out and so on. So you can very quickly, put all the shingles on and so on.
I mean, that works.
And the main thing is for a lot of these, I make the designs open source as well. For the house, I've actually released a version of it that you can download, and you do what John does, which is you print it out, cut out the shape, and then he does. I think it's great. John at Tabletop Witchcraft, what he does is, let's say you've got a square to cut out. You cut out the square from the piece of paper, put it on the pink foam, and then you get a Sharpie, a permanent marker, and you shade over the edge so that when you finally remove the piece of paper, you've got this a silhouette that you've created on the foam, and it makes it so easy to cut.
I love John's work.
It's such a simple concept, but it's really, really good.
I really love John's work, and seeing his work, you can tell he's an engineer even if he doesn't say he's an engineer.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, I had the fortunate opportunity back in December to go and visit him and see his studio and see, some of the things I'd seen on, on my screen, in person.
Ooh.
And my God, it looks even better in person. Like the haunted house he has, and the Colosseum that he did. It's just. Yeah.
The Colosseum is from a few years back.
It makes me too envious. That's the problem.
The Colosseum is from a few years back. I think it's a big, chunky piece. Yeah?
It's a big piece. Yeah. You basically need a basement to hold that kind of stuff. All my stuff, I'm trying to keep it kind of sort of below 6 or 8 inches by 6 or 8 inches, with the idea being that it's easily kind of fold upable. So, for instance, the puzzle rooms. The template for the puzzle room, you can actually take the walls off, fold them over, take that wall off, fold it over, and so that then it all fits into a lunch bag, a Ziploc bag. Oh, look out! There we go.
So, question about that: how small what's the smallest piece of circuit you can make, which could still have a battery in it and stuff like that?
That's a good question. So the smallest boards I make are these Conway Castle boards. So normally you get 2 in a pack, right? And everybody's always asking me like, I only got 1. I'm like, yeah, just snap it in half. There's 2 of them in there, and that is I get to do millimeters with you.
I remember on the Crazy Crafter show. I think it was Colin who thought he had broken it.
Exactly. So this is 25, so about 1 inch by 21, 20.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure if that's showing very well. Oh, sorry, my calipers are out of shot. But yeah, 1 inch by about 3/4 of an inch. There's no point going much smaller. I mean, you can always go smaller than that, but you make it less easy for people to hook up to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is a problem. Now, what I was thinking was, before the stream I mentioned that maybe in wargaming, electronics might not be the best thing to have because you have to keep track of 80, 90 models per side, and the last thing you want are blinking lights and smoke and things like that. But something like objective markers, for example.
Yes.
So we can switch them from one color
We've
to
had
another.
a lot of interest from people on objective markers.
Really? Yeah.
And like a single CR2032 battery like this is perfect for an objective marker as well, right? You don't need your big USB power pack and so on underneath. And then it's a question what you want to do with it, right? Then do you want to how do you want to switch on the objective marker? Do you want a red light and a blue light, and you remotely control whether you want that objective marker to be red or blue, depending on who's owning it? Right? There's a few different options like that, and so a lot of folks, and I completely understand why. Right? They'll take a simple CR2032 battery and they'll hook up an LED and call the design done. Right? That's even I do this, right? Even I do this. When I'm quickly prototyping and I just want to see. Yeah, there's no reason to complicate it, right? And the tea light guys, the ones you buy in the dollar store, have been doing this for decades, and so, or at least a decade, and so, yeah. I mean, the real value proposition of using something like a Conway Castle board is that you get 4 LEDs all together, all brightness control together, and a simple USB connector, right? So it's a lazy man's way around it, if you will.
There's a lot of variety which can come from that.
Yeah, you could do a lot with that, right? And I do like the idea of being able to control that brightness, so you can have something very dim or something very bright and so on. There was a competition late last year, or was it early January, on Tabletop Witchcraft's Discord, where one of the entrants did this. Just I think I said the same thing on Zane's stream as well, but he had this tavern that could turn into an alchemist shop. And so the tavern had this 3D printed kind of container outside, like where they brew the beer or something. And then when you converted it into a alchemist's, it turned from like the yellow color of beer to the purple and green of alchemy and things like this. And it was just done with two different Conway Castle boards, one driving the yellow LEDs and one driving the purple and green LEDs, and simply switching using the reed switches, magnetic switches that I use for everything, to switch between one set being on and the other being switched on. It was just, I wish I could do that. Yeah. I don't have the glue and paint skills for that.
The thing with electronics, I think, is the same as with software development. Anyone can make something, but it takes skill to make something simple. As in,
yeah, I think that's where the real creativity comes from. The planning stage of what you're going to do with your terrain, right? And really thinking ahead about, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think that's where Nate, the guy who won with the pub and the alchemists, I think he must have sat down and spent at least 45 minutes with a pen and paper going, oh yeah, I could do this. Oh yeah, I wonder if I can do that. And he asked me a couple of questions. He joined the Discord, asked me a couple of simple questions, and I was like, I don't know where you're going with this. I had no idea at the time, but yes, that's possible. Yes, that's possible. And then suddenly, bam, it was like, wow, okay. Clearly you've planned this before just cutting foam and going for it that way.
I think
it's a really big thing. So something you and I discussed one-on-one a little while ago, right, was so many people don't plan their builds. They just dive straight in, and half an hour with a pen and paper, not even half an hour, 10 minutes with a cup of tea or coffee, if that's your poison. You can do so much. And just thinking, I want to put lights here, or I want to put something that moves there. And then the question is, how do I do that? Okay, that's what things like Discords are for, right? You come onto one of the Discords, either the Crazy Crafter one, your one, the Tabletop Witchcraft one, and it's not just me that answers questions like that. There's other people who've done this now, and they can really set you on the path to creating terrain and things that hopefully players just go, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Kind of the eyes go open. Oh yeah, that's the winning zone.
Yeah, and the thing with the thing I'm finding more and more as we go along is that bouncing ideas of people, even if they don't know much about the subject, can open up whole new avenues. Like, hey, I don't understand how this works, but what if you do this or that, or could you do that thing instead? Ideas just keep popping up.
Yep. And I'm starting to see more of that. A year ago, on a lot of these Discords, for instance, I was the only one, answering questions like that. But we're rapidly seeing folks who, their biggest experience has been with a wire wrap tool and a battery and some LEDs, right? And just even that much, right? Designs don't have to be elaborate to wow your players. As a DM, you turn up with something that flickers and people go, whoa, that's cool. So, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of community and stuff, I think Zane put some pictures in the chat in Discord. Let's hop over and have a look at that. Here we go. And of course it didn't come up. Just a second, please. Remember, it's not a stream if everything is working.
What is that background I'm looking at, by the way?
It's a photo my girlfriend shot of a prehistoric site a few miles off here.
Oh, wow. You have real history there, then.
Oh, yeah.
Not like the fake history we have here in the US or the very recent history we have here.
Wait, please, just hang on a second.
Zane, I see Zane just commented, "What's a wire wrap tool?" Smart ass.
We need Discord.
So I saw Nat One Videos joined as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw one of his recent builds where we were a little bit late to try and get a Conway board in there, but he did some amazing stuff with lighting where he had like a flickering light off in a cave, and it really looked like, you know, it was enough to fool you into thinking there's a little family kind of, you know, trying to keep warm deep in the cave there. You know, it was really, really impressive. Yeah, all credit to him for that.
Just a second, because Discord is really not cooperating. But
you know, it actually did make me think. I did want to talk very quickly about wiring in your terrain. You know, if you can, my advice, especially if you're making a big piece of terrain, is make channels in your terrain for wires. In other words, you know, if you're going to put a wire down and then put like sculptor mold on top, if you can, put in some rubber tubing or even a drinking straw. And, you know, so the sculptor mold goes on top of the drinking straw, and then your wires are going through that. So that if you do have any wiring problems, or you want to change your battery source, you want to do something in the future, you're not like pulling wire through, you know, and breaking up your sculptor mold and so on. And so, yeah, that's something I've learned. I hadn't thought about it before.
Mike just said the video comes out next Sunday. Ooh, nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've let the
Spoilers!
cat out of the bag. Spoilers.
Okay, joking aside, I think it's actually the same thing that construction workers do when they're preparing conduits for stuff, and then they leave a wire inside so that they can pull the other wires through.
Yeah, so they can fishing it through, right? That's exactly. Mike, use a hot knife to create channels in the XPS foam. That's definitely something. Go ahead. You've got some of the awesome sewer stuff that Zane put together there.
Oh, this is nice. So Zane, these are your 3D printed sewers, yeah? And I think, actually, I know that your video is going up right after this stream. So I'm just pasting the link in the chat. Okay, it's going up right after the stream, so everyone can head over and watch that. So,
yeah, it's really nice stuff. I like how he's done the ripples in the water there. I'm wondering if that's gloss Mod Podge or if he's used another product for that.
I'm not sure. I think he used UV resin, but I'm not sure. What I really like is this flowing water from the pipes. That really turned out.
You know, one of the things I've been thinking about when it comes to liquids and so on, just before Christmas, I did a video with John on lava for his Krampus video.
Yeah.
Where we put in programmable LEDs underneath and had them kind of flicker and so on. But, you know, this year I was thinking back about the code I wrote for that and so on. I was thinking to myself, are there any other liquids that you could do with that same kind of ripple effect in it, right? And, you know, looking at the sewer here, you know, having like deep greens and browns, you know, just ebbing
actually, that would
in
make
that
sense.
water could be a wonderful effect.
And I think even if you have normal water and put in some blues and purples and you have some kind of Feywild...
Exactly. And again, like I said at the beginning of this, right, it doesn't always have to be, you know, color perfect or something like that, right? Your brain will fit in a lot of the, you know, if, for instance, you know, in a sewer image, right, if you had a Bluetooth speaker in the room also playing the sound of water running, doesn't, you know, it could be clean water running, right? But your brain will very quickly go, I'm in a sewer, this water's running.
I would avoid it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because then you've got people queuing to go to the bathroom every 2 minutes.
Oh, come on, you're not that old yet.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fantasy game, so run with it. Whatever colors you want to throw in there, there will be a place for them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if you followed a channel called Atmos Seeker.
Of course, I have. Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about just, a guy who spends more time on doing up his room than he does on the actual, table itself. His stuff is inspirational, completely inspirational. I caught last night. I caught
stage production every time.
It is. Yeah, definitely. That's last night. I watched one on. He did a Dungeons D&D campaign that was on a pirate ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "This is how I set up my room, right?" And he's got fishnet on the walls. He's got rope dangling around, and all these kind of maritime style paraphernalia around the room.
Absolutely. That's a different level of art.
Speaking when I grow up,
different level.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, let's jump back to this.
When you grow up, you want to be like Seb, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want the accent as well. Struth, mate. What are we looking at here? Oh, wow. Okay. Can you press play on the second video that that's been posted?
I'm not sure if it will come up on. Is it showing? Because I can't see the.
Yeah.
Right. Tina, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh my God! Look at that roof. I love those roofs. The towers there, the lower ones. I
mean, all of it is. So is this going to be?
Tina, how many hours of work do you have in that? That must be. And maybe you can say in the chat, what's the design process like? Do you do CAD and then work out what you need to cut, or is it just like a pencil sketch and you just dive in? And those windows look exceptional. They must be shifting lands, maybe?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, the whole design of this thing is going to look fantastic. Okay, and Earthman Brick, let's see. Latest work in progress at Trompa. A robotic substitute for the 40k orcs quick for.
Have a look.
This reminds me of the
Chomper.
This reminds me of the little robots from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV
show. The video games?
No, the TV show. I think we're talking the early 90s here, 91, 92. It's a long time ago.
That's excellent.
That's cute. Nice work, man. Yeah, exactly.
So for something like that, right? Very recently I've been looking at wireless LEDs. I'm not sure if you've seen these, where you get a coil that looks something like, here's one I baked earlier, a coil. I'm not sure if you can see the brass coil in what I'm showing here. But you power that, and then these little LEDs then shine when you put them inside the coil. These coils are a little bit big, but I've been thinking to myself, hold on, let me show you. I love messing with stuff like this. Okay. I could be so much more productive if I didn't mess about with technology.
Tina says, can't draw and can't design on the PC.
All right, let's have a look. And all right, here's a bag of little wireless LEDs. Let's see if I can make them light up.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if you can see that.
Magic.
Yeah, it's like magic, right?
Burn the witch.
Burn the witch. Anyway, so this coil's a little bit big for this, for like D&D. That would cover like 9 squares, right? If you're playing on a 1-inch grid. But there are ones which are smaller, which are 20 millimeter, which would fit inside 1 square on the board. And so nice. what I was thinking about was actually putting LEDs down as part of the base of the player or of the object that you have to fetch and carry.
Oh, okay.
And a clue that says, light up my life, right, or something like that, right? So that when you do, put that player on there and it lights up, it's like, oh, of course, and then you slide the door open and so on.
It's really more options for switches, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. of course, there's really clever stuff we could be doing, right? At one point I had a home automation system prototype running to do all this kind of stuff, and because what you can do then, right? Once you've got a home automation system running, is you could put home automation light bulbs in your room, and so the light bulbs will change in the room when you do something on the terrain. Okay. Yeah, exactly, right. And we go, whoa, that's amazing. And then John says to me, dude, people are still trying to wire up, a battery to an LED, and you want to talk about, home automation and changing light bulbs?
I think you still should, because even if the level of most people is at whatever level it is, it helps to give them ideas for what they could do eventually. I mean, you're right. I'm just, at the same time, I'm like, I'm very, very careful what I invest my time in, because it'd be very easy to lose weeks of spare time developing something that only 2 people that watch these channels can really use. Good point.
And it's not that I'm out to make a profit and blah blah blah. What's our margin this quarter? I get enough of that at work, but I think it's just more. I think it's just more about helping more people out, right? My most popular product, these little Conway boards, I designed them a year ago. I build batches of 300 at a time or whatever, and best-selling product I make because it's easy, it's simple. John convinced me to make this one. I was making cooler, harder stuff, and he's like, dude, what I need to do is drive up to 4 LEDs, and if you give me some kind of brightness control, I can do a lot with it. Oh. All right, if you must,
So Dafydd, it's 7:45 here. We've run into the hour. So
I'm sorry.
No. I mean, you're the one who had that time limit, not me. So
I'm fine. My son's playing, so. But yeah. That's some amazing work. Was it Tina's work that we saw there that was lit up as well?
Yeah, Tina's work.
Love it. Hopefully she's using terrain-tronics boards. Okay, just one last pitch there.
Okay, so I think we'll have to call it a day for today. And Dafydd, thank you so much for being here. It's been a blast talking to you. I hope you'll be over again.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Some other time. It's been a pleasure, man.
All right, take care. Thank you so much.
Take care and have a great evening, everyone. Bye.